we are going to talk about writing a linear function from a word problem. It's important in this situation to identify which is the independent variable and which are the dependent variable. I'm going to explain you what is independent variable and what is dependent variable, and you are going to identify in the word problems to write your linear equation. Remember, the form of a linear equation is y equal mx plus b. M is the slope, b is y-intercept. For example, first you need to remember what is a variable. A variable, remember, will represent with the letters of the alphabet and represent an unknown value. And in these problems, we are going to identify two specific variables: the independent variable and the dependent variable. I'm going to explain you what is independent variable. Independent variable are the values for x. Remember, the values for x is going to change it because can be 1, can be 2, can be 3, and it's going to be according to the problem. And it's a variable that stands alone, and it's changed by the other variables you are trying to measure. It states that this variable, or it's the x, don't depend from other values. Okay, and if you substitute in the linear function, if you substitute one value, the x value never going to change. It's going to be always the same. But what value is going to change? The dependent variable. Dependent variable is going to change according to the value for y, and it's the value that depends of other factors. In this case, the y value depends of the x. Imagine you're working with the function y equal 5x plus 2, and y, you don't know what is the value for y, and y is going to change according to the value that you give in x. For example, if you give the value for 2, is going to be 5 times 2 plus 2, which is going to be 14. So the value for y is going to be 14. But if you put a value of 3, is going to be 5 times 3 plus 2, which is 17. So the value for y, it depends of the value for x. That's the reason that the y value is dependent variable and the x is independent variable, because never any value affect to this value. And we have another specific value, which is the constant. The constant, it's a value that we're gonna use here, and this value is going to be always the same. It's going to be always the same in the function. So for example, imagine if you have now independent and dependent variables, how it's going to change that. For example, independent variable, remember, is the x. Okay, so the amount of water. The amount of water is a variable, and we are going to represent with the x value. Dependent variable. These plants, the growth of these plants depends on the amount of water that they receive. So the dependent variable is going to be y. So how is going to grow this plant? With the water, dependent of the amount of water. If you put less or more water. Now I'm going to give you some examples. For example, here we have Walter already has written 4 pages, and he expects to write 3 pages every additional hour spent writing. Write an equation that shows the relationship between the hours spent writing age is our variable, and the total page written by P. The total pages written, and we represent this with P. As you can see here, we have in the problem, we have that Walter already written 4 pages. So this variable is our constant because this value never changes. Then he expects to write 3 pages for every additional hour. So the hours, it's the value that is going to change. So what value do we need to find? The whole quantity of page. So we have in the data y-intercept, which is 4, because this value never changed in the problem. Then we have independent variable, age. Remember, the independent variable, it's the quantity is going to change according to the problem. Then we have dependent variable. According to the number of hours that we give in the problem, the dependent variable is going to change, or it's the number of page. Then you can write, first, remember, page equal 3, because 3 page for every means multiplication, additional hour. So we have 3h plus 4. Why plus 4? Because Walter has already written 4 pages. So this value, for example, can take 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and according to this value, the value for p, or say the dependent variable, is going to change. For example, the second question is, how many pages does Walter read in 5 hours? So we substitute, instead age, we substitute 5, which is 15 plus 4, and it's going to be 19 pages. So Walter read in 19 pages in 5 hours. So, but for example, you can change the value for the hours, and you can put 2 if you want. It's going to be 3 times 2, 6 plus 4 is going to be 10. So now the number of pages depends of the number of hours. So that's the reason the dependent variable is p. So this is our answer. Now the second example, we have Alex has already knit 1 centimeter of a scarf and can knit 2 centimeters each night. So each night, it's the value that we can replace by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, or by 6. But the quantity of knits is going to depend according to the quantity of night. For example, here we have y-intercept has already 1 knit, so it's this one. So you can use, for example, I'm going to use this one. 1 knit is our constant, because we already have this value, and this value never change. Now the independent variable is night. Why? Because we have each night. So here I'm gonna use this one, each night. So this value we can put it 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, 4 night, or any number of night. And what value is going to depend according to the value of each night, the dependent variable, which is the knit. Okay, so we're gonna have in the plan k equal 2m plus 1. Why 2m? Because it's 2 centimeters each night. So you need to use this value when we have 2 centimeters each night. So this we have the m. For example, now we have a question. How many centimeters will be needed in 25 nights? So it's going to be 2 times 25 plus 1. So this value is going to change this one, so which is going to be 50 plus 1, and it's going to be 51. But imagine that you give here the value of 29, so it's going to be 41. So the value of k depends of the value for m. So that's the reason that we have independent variable and dependent variable. So the answer is going to be, in 25 nights, Alex can knit 51